Hey everyone, here we go. Mark,
Am I there?
I got
Am I there?
you.
I,
I
I
got
was
you. How are you?
I was so frustrated because I could see and I was pressing all the buttons. And, hey,
It happens. It
hey,
happens. Listen, I've
can't,
got you, and this is
you can't be
amazing.
good
How are
at
you?
everything. I was here all the time, but frustrated. Anyway,
That's
let's
okay.
let's crack on.
No. How was your day? Busy? I had you on the phone.
Yeah,
You had a very busy day.
yeah. Every day's a busy day. I pack a lot into my days, and yeah, I do. I'm burning time. So I office appointments, a design appointment, measured a site. We're doing some work here in the property, so I was over there, and then got on a train RHS sustainability seminar
Yeah.
for Show Gardens for this coming for I spoke at that, and then hot-footed back. So yeah, full on.
Full on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for making time in your very busy schedule to come on tonight. I really appreciate that.
It's okay.
So, I'm going to start this podcast by a little introduction in yourself as well. You know, a bit about your background, how you got to where you are, the decisions that you made to get you to where you are as well. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'll keep it brief. I'm from Yorkshire. I come from a family of grandparents were market gardeners in the Depression in the 1930s. My father's father had 8 sons, and they all became builders, bricklayers during the war years and post-war years. A couple didn't make it through the war. My dad grew up in horticulture and market gardening, but became a bricklayer post-war Britain. So I grew up as a kid in a very sleepy little village in Yorkshire. A very little education, brought up in a lot of love, but I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. But I grew up with bricks and mortar. My father building his own house, but him, passionate gardener, absolutely passionate gardener. But he was making much money out of building, and so really couldn't really break and go into professional horticulture. So I grew up wanting to become a builder. Him then kind of nagging me to go to college, and really I went to college just to shut him up. Really, so at 16, I applied to be a royal gardener at Savills Gardens and flunked that interview. Anyway, I got a job in commercial horticulture. Left home at 18 and did a 1-year NCH in amenity horticulture at Lancashire College. Kind of fell in love with it. I thought, actually, this is not so bad. So then I went on to Ask and Brian, did an OND diploma, did my middle year at RHS Wisley, and actually loved it, really, really loved it, like a sponge. And I applied for my first job as assistant contracts manager with a company called Squires, which still a big garden centre group. And I ran the landscape company at I was 21 as assistant manager. I'd been there about 6 months, and then the manager upped and left. And I thought, if I don't step up to this, I'm going to get sidelined. So I stepped up and begged Colin Squire to give me the job. And at 24, I took over running that department. And at the time, this is at 82. By 82, I took over in about 84, 85. And at that time, we were doing local garden centre work. We had 8 guys, a few trucks, and that was it. But then I started courting people like the godfathers of garden design, the people like John Brooks and Rob Williams and David Stevens. And before I knew it, 25, 26, I grew it to 30 guys. I was buying trucks. We were doing projects in the late 80s of £200,000, £300,000, £400,000.
Wow.
And I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Didn't really know what I was doing, but just loved it. And in '88, I just got I couldn't see where I was going within the company, and it's still a lovely company. I'm still friends with them today, but basically I got fed up with people saying, Mark, why don't you do this for yourself? So I left, went self-employed in '88, set up a company called Landmark, and literally ground my way out. Just had no money behind me. Set off with 8 guys. That was in April the 1st, '89. I'd been going 3 weeks. And then I got my first Chelsea garden that year. So I'd only been in business 3 weeks. And so I built my first garden, which was a trade stand in '89. And the rest is history. And Landmark was this fantastic company, and I ran that company from '89 to its implosion in 2003.
Yeah.
Implosion. Basically, I hit a massive landmine.
Yeah.
I had a huge commercial debt. I had a sleeping partner that wasn't working, so it was my decision to close the business. So I went into
Yeah.
voluntary liquidation, bruised, battered, and talked a lot about it. Got back on my bike, and that was 20, just over 20 years ago now. So
Wow.
I packed a life raft, and then ploughed on. And I think that's why a lot of landscapers can relate to me, because I've kind of been there, done it, got the T-shirt. There's
Yeah.
nothing I haven't achieved within the industry. I share a lot. I'm passionate about the industry. I'm passionate about technicality.
Yeah.
I don't like to be pigeonholed as I'm a landscaper. I'm a construction guy. I understand construction, really complex construction, but I love plants. I love trees. I love design. I don't like to be called, well, he's just a landscaper or he's just a builder. No, this is what I do. I build dreams. So I've completely immersed myself in the technical side. I've surrounded myself by really good people here. So now Landform, we've got 87 people full-time in the company.
Yeah.
We're about a 10, 11 million turnover business,
Wow.
working in design. I've got four full-time designers. And then obviously the construction side. And then obviously we do about 1.5 million on pure maintenance. So,
Yeah.
I love the industry. I try to give back a lot. I try to lead by example. I still think I'm kind of on the front face. There's a lot of people doing good business, chasing me down, and I love all that. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's a snapshot of where I am.
Yeah. It's a good one. I feel like you said that pretty accurately as well. Like you went in depth in many ways. And what I can take from that actually is I like the beginning. So where you come from, your dad, and the background, what you grew up to learn from your father, it's obviously carried through a little bit through your career a little bit.
Massively. He taught me how to work. He taught me how to get out of bed, how to work, and ethics, how
Yeah,
to have my moral compass tuned in, honesty. He taught me honesty and how
yeah,
to be absolutely straight. He wasn't in business, so I didn't learn any business from my dad.
no,
So I did all the college, I did all the technical stuff, and I've learned obviously through Colin Squire. So yeah, I had 7 years running his business, making mistakes, but doing more good things than I made mistakes. And then, every day is a school day, and I've been at the sharp end, flat
yeah,
out, since 89. So I'm always learning, and I'm always learning, and I'm quite self-evasive, but I still haven't lost that ability to be honest, to
yeah,
put my hands up when I've messed up, to put things right and stand by them, and I will not let it go. I will not
no,
give up. I will not. If somebody says to me that's impossible to do, then okay, I kind of look at it. So why is it impossible to do? It's impossible because you haven't got the budget or you haven't got the time. But there's nothing. I tell designers that anything is achievable if
yeah,
you've got budget and you've got the time to do it. And I live a very simple life. I work really, really hard. I love my work. I love to share it, and I'm just in the sweet spot of my career. I spoke to Ollie. I know Ollie from Harwood's is here, and I spoke to him like my analogy on life is like a game of golf.
yeah,
When you're 18, you're on the first tee, and you're slicing, and you're all over the place. It's all a bit of a giggle, and you don't really matter. Points out, I've got plenty of holes left. When you get to 40, and you're on the ninth hole, and you think, bloody hell, I better get some points on the board. I better start focusing. Well, I mean, I can see the clubhouse. I can literally see the clubhouse, and I haven't got many holes left to play. So every hole now, every shot I play, it's got to matter.
yeah,
Everything I do now, I don't want to work for arseholes, arrogant people. I don't want to do things I do not want to do. So I live by a very simple code. A job that I do needs to do three things. I need to make money. from it.
Yeah.
I need to dine out on it. So it needs to be something we can shout about, and I have to have fun.
Yeah.
So I have to actually enjoy the process. And there's three other things I do as well. I try to make somebody smile every day,
Yeah.
which that could be the girl at Tesco's. I have a giggle, or I try not to take myself too serious. I make myself do something that I do not want to do every day, which in my case is usually a kind of administrative thing, or a final account thing, or
Yeah.
something that needs a lot of attention, office based. You know, and so things like that. You know, so I just live by a simple code.
I
Is what I
like
live by.
that.
Yeah.
No, I mean it is. You know, I think it's important to have that structure in your day and in your career. In some ways, I quite like what you say about, you know, as you grow older, you know, even I've been doing what I've been doing for 10 years, and I'm just starting to make money now.
Yeah.
But I've had 10 years of learning how to make money, right? So those phases
Well,
just come, and you have to take them in your stride and learn from it. And it's like you evolve as you grow your business as well.
I think it's really important. I mean, you know, in my experience, there's lots of fantastic people in this industry, fantastic artisans, but don't confuse being able to build it with the ability to take your family on nice holidays, pay your mortgage, buy yourself a nice car, treat yourself really, really well. And all
Yeah,
those things are really important. So the understanding of money is absolutely critical,
yeah,
and not being embarrassed to talk about money,
no,
not to and to understand how your money's made up. As I said, I'm not one of these landscapers who does his own accounts. I haven't got a clue how to do accounts. So what I
no,
do is I do what I do really, really well, and I employ really good people to do the things I can't do or don't want to
yeah,
do. I don't price any work. I've got a QS to do that. I've got two accountants who advise me, and I tell them where I want to go and how I want to get there.
yeah,
I don't waste time in doing things that I'm not particularly good at doing.
yeah, yeah,
But understanding being commercial and making money. Making money is not a rude thing to say.
no,
It's absolutely fundamental to the equipment we buy, the training that I do to the staff, the bonuses
and
that we pay out. All that stuff is because you've made money.
yeah,
So you know the
to be
ability
able
to actually make money.
to
There's a lot.
be able to give, yeah, go on, Mark.
No, I was going to say there's a lot of people in the industry, and not the people who are tuned into this, because people who are tuned into this are interested in their
Yeah,
business. People who go to Barley meetings or APL meetings or wherever, they're interested in the business. But there's many people who pull the industry down, both on design, who charge tea and biscuits and actually undermine the business. And there's landscapers who, you know, quite frankly, we all know who those people are, who are just opportunists who carve the market up and leave money on the table, rip people off, unregularized. You know, I regard this as a tramp's trade. Everybody does what we do. Every
yeah,
single gypsy redundant builder, I'm a landscaper. It's unregulated, and so throughout my career, I've picked the most hardest, complicated pieces of work to get me into a different swim. I do not
yeah,
want to be in the swim with the people who rip people off or do shabby work. It's never been on my radar
yeah. I
ever.
love
So
that.
yeah, and you know, and the industry's got a long way to go to be regularized, to actually you know, and I think it starts by things like this: conversations, how to make money, how to be professional, you know, and even dare I say, I look at Instagram and I look at some of the quality of construction and the perfection, and you know, and it's almost it's inspiring. It's inspiring to me actually. So I know that there's a lot of good guys coming right behind me, you know, really chasing me down. It's great. I love it. Love it.
Yeah,
More than that.
I, and
More than that.
and actually, you know, you brought up Instagram and the community or Bali or APL, all those places. I think they are so vital. I'm quite new to being a part of APL, and I've had my first cluster meeting with Phil. and you know, you meet local people like yourself who are in love with the industry, and it just carries that industry uphill instead of bringing it downhill.
Ru-
So yeah, I
Run,
think, yeah, go on,
I was
Mark.
going to say, running a business, running any business, landscaping, it can be a lonely
Yeah,
place to be. You go to these cluster groups, you go online, you hear people who've got exactly the same problems as you, got
yes,
exactly the same aspirations as you, and you know it's great. And I've been active with those associations
yeah,
since in the early 80s.
yes,
And you know you get out what you put in, and I've put an awful
yeah.
lot in, and I've got an awful lot out.
Well,
I've got a
it's
lot of
funny.
really
I had a question, and it was, you give a lot to the community, and you've done a lot for Pro Landscape and for a lot of little and big and just RHS. You do so much for the industry, and I wanted to know, what was that driving force behind you? What made you want to do so much for the industry and not, you know, as a way to give back, as a way to, I'm quite curious to understand that.
Do you know, I don't know, but I suppose if I'm kind of bearing my soul, I suppose I'm very, when I was growing up, I was very self-evasive. You know, maybe my father really said, Mark, you need to do this, push, push. And maybe it was a way of trying to impress him of what I'd done. And I think I was saying to you, Ollie, the other day, I've never been good at, in the early days, of accepting praise and be able to stand and reflect on what I'd achieved. And back in the early days, I was a nightmare. I was like on a mission all the time and very, very driven and wanting to up that bar and lift the bar and lift the bar. But I've always been one to share and actually put my hands up and said, you know, I made a big mistake. And this is why I made a mistake. You know, I've seen things on APL, and when I first took over the chair of that, I realised that if we didn't, it was me who set the cluster groups up, and because it had to be a community for people like me to say to people like you, look, I made this mistake once, and this and the ability to for younger people to reach out to see me. So I set this thing up called like a buddy system. So any new APL member, young or inexperienced, it didn't really matter to me, but they would be paired up with somebody senior, and we would have maybe 10 or 12 buddies that
Yeah,
people could reach out and say, you know, because I've seen things that I think, why didn't I know about this? Because I could have saved those guys sleepless nights. I could have saved a lot of sleepless nights. And
yeah,
and I'm really passionate about that, as you can tell.
yeah,
And for me, like going to Chelsea and doing what we do, I get a kick out of helping people. I just get a kick out of it. On the basis that one year, I'm going to drop a ball. I'm going to say, guys, I need help here.
yeah,
You know, I'm up against it. And I think actually, I think this industry is very giving with this information.
yeah,
I think it's very supportive. I love that. I genuinely love that about the industry. I think it's great. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm in love with the industry, and I want everybody to be as good, if not better, than me.
yeah,
That's the honest answer.
yeah.
I just
That's nice.
I want the industry to be so professional that the hairs on my neck go up when I look at something and say, "Wow, I wish I was as good as that."
Yeah,
So there's a part of me that still thinks we could be better. I'm very critical of what we do and how we do it, and sometimes we drop balls, and I get upset. I care.
yeah,
I worry
yeah,
about losing. I worry about losing quality. I worry about things like that, and I guess that's not a bad place to be. It is, quite honestly.
yeah.
I believe that.
It's kind of chasing perfection as well, and chasing the right outcome out of things. No, I mean, I really agree with you, because in some ways, you know, this is why I do the podcast. You know, I love to share the struggle, the financial. I don't think people, like you said early on, talk enough about the financial. When my Instagram grew, I would get questions from young landscapers about, and simple questions about VAT, about, you know, what's your margin on materials? Do you even put a margin on things? And you know, to be able to share, and I'm not saying I'll do everything right by all means, but to be able to share and to learn and to be, you know, in some ways improving, not improving because I wouldn't say I'm improving the industry, but just talking about it. Like at a cluster meeting, I just think, you know, I had a phone call with someone that makes beautiful deckings, and we were talking about risk assessment and how important they are, and how he goes about them and how I go about them. So I'm going to change the way I do things. He might change the way he does things out of one conversation. So
Well, as I said, it's. I mean, for me, being commercial, I was once accused by a group of garden designers, Landform, of, very commercial. They're very commercial, and
yeah,
it was meant as a criticism, but I actually took it as a compliment. I
yeah,
actually think to be actually called, well, I'm not greedy, and I'm not. I'm very, very giving, and we're very malleable, but we are contractual. So, in the paperwork we do, the process that we put in, we are a systems-driven business based
yeah,
on quality over profit, every single bit of the way. Every
yeah,
single thing is about, but quality and profitability have to be just quality always needs to be above profit, but profit needs to be tight up against
yeah,
it. Why would you want to be a busy fool? And the art of learning to do business takes a long time. It's not a 5 minute, and people, if you've not made a mistake, American president once said, I forget which president said, a man who hasn't made a mistake is a man who hasn't tried. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them and put process in. And as I said, systems driven business. We are a systems driven business.
so
Accreditation.
so
Yeah.
you said about making mistakes, and I've got a question related to that. So if you was to go back in time, Mark, and do, you know, Landform again, or your career or
Yeah.
whatever, what would you have done? And it can be a couple of things, but what is the thing that probably hits you the most and say, mm, maybe I would have done that differently?
I think, maybe my focus on technical skills, learning industry stuff, learning horticulture, learning construction. I didn't learn enough business skills
Yeah,
quick enough, early enough. I
yeah,
didn't learn it at college. I came out of college and I'd done 4 years at college. I didn't know my arse from my elbow. And there were so many gaps in my education that I was absolutely annoyed at myself for why have I got these gaps? Why don't I know this stuff? So I learned very, very quickly, but the art of doing business. And I think now with a lot of, I think it's easier now to learn
yeah,
quickly. And there's so many routes to market. I mean, when I was started, didn't have the internet. Fucking, I was the first person at Chelsea to have a mobile phone. I mean, I've gone through so many changes. It's unbelievable. But I think focusing on the art of learning to do business, understanding basic accounts, understanding profitability, understanding how to work out what your day work is, rather than hearing it down the pub that he charges that, so that's what I charge. You're
yeah,
actually understanding how your margins are made up, and having the confidence to talk about money to
yes,
people who make an awful lot more money than I'll ever make. Hence, the employ me to build a garden. So I think probably on business is probably would be my weakness, and and also not focusing on what makes money in the business.
yeah,
Um, Things like, for instance, we run a separate maintenance company, and I would urge anybody who's in landscaping not to just look at, I'm a paver, I do block pavings, I do patios. Look at the bigger picture, look at horticulture, look at plants, make yourself more accessible to the wider game, but also to have that bolt-on of that maintenance offering. Because that
yeah,
maintenance offering, I mean, we're only doing 1.5 million. If I'd had a really good business, that 1.5 million would be 5 million and that would make the exit for me very, very sweet to sell a maintenance business at 5 million turnover. So I wish I'd started my maintenance and really driven and drilled into it probably 10 years ago.
It's
More.
funny you said that because I started my business doing maintenance, Mark. Just run English Gardens, and I've just finished it. I've just stopped it.
It's because obviously it's very hard to make the transition to, for me personally, I'm a gardener, and there was for many years that if somebody said, "Are you a gardener?" I would get the right ass. I would have thought that's almost like a put down, and I couldn't really
No,
deal with it. I said I'm a landscape gardener, but actually now I'm really comfortable being called a gardener. I
yeah,
really am genuinely comfortable. But the thing is, for me, the excitement that drives me is doing these chocolate box schemes that we do. These schemes that are like, and I don't get that excited. I mean, maintenance is a great part of our business.
yeah,
It's a core part of our business. And I've got people that are really more passionate on driving that side than I am. And I
yes,
know I'm not passionate enough,
yeah,
but it's making the transition to do what you like to do, and then putting the people in place to actually push that side of the business.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we we struggled with it because obviously we had this maintenance business and it was going really well. I, like yourself, I'm a gardener. Yeah, my first job when I moved to the UK was at Audley End Kitchen Gardens. So I worked with Mike Furlow, who restored this beautiful vegetable garden, walled garden, and it was, my mum's a botanist, been around plants, so I had no difficulty setting that up. But as I grew up, I had this love of construction, and that took over. And then trying to manage the maintenance, obviously, it's on a lot smaller scale than you. I mean, we've never made that kind of money on maintenance, but we were only running 4 teams on maintenance. And for us, we were running 2 teams on landscaping, 4 team on maintenance. We were making more money with only 2 teams on landscaping than 4 on maintenance.
But
So
equally,
for us, it was a no-brainer.
but you can lose a lot of money on
You
landscape, and
can,
you'll never lose money on maintenance. And our maintenance, I have to say, actually supports our landscape
really,
because obviously, because construction is volatile. One minute you're very cash rich, next minute you're cash poor. It eats a lot of cash up. The cash flow is highly risky. It's
yeah,
highly risky. At any one time, you could get torpedoed. Believe me, I've been there.
yeah,
So, you'll only ever have one bad debt of 1 month on a maintenance contract. Our maintenance is a very profitable part of our business,
wow,
and we would not be the company we are today without that maintenance. And as I said, going back, if I had another 10 years, I'd throw a lot of effort into growing my
into the
maintenance.
maintenance.
Yeah, and
How funny is that?
not necessarily Mrs. Jones and her roses, but
Yeah,
more corporate maintenance, more
yeah, I mean,
more
that's
more
it.
blue
Yeah,
chip maintenance. I've got one garden that I look after, one garden, and I've got 9 gardens on it. It's a residential property,
wow.
and it's 90 acres, and I've had that for 25 years, and
Yeah,
that's But I mean, obviously, those kinds of jobs become very sexy.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but
It's not the same league as, like you say, some of our biggest clients, we would send maybe 2 gardeners for the full day. Now
yeah,
for us,
yeah.
that was a big garden.
No. Don't get me wrong. So for my essence, how it started, how our maintenance started, was because when I used to do a lot more commercial, we had to offer defects liability
Yeah,
for the first year. Then I realised actually it's a really good to retain those. So if somebody spends £500,000 with us on a residential garden, the projects are so complicated with lights and water features and audio systems and everything. I just
yeah,
feel
watering
for our
systems.
business, You can't just walk away and say, "I'm sorry, we've finished it. Bye."
Yes.
You know, we have to be retained, and those retentions then lead up to other work and their friends and blah de blah de blah. So
Yes.
it is so vital actually to the success of our construction business is the maintenance. And as I said, you asked me, so the bottom line is, you know, for all those smaller guys, look at not necessarily do it yourself. We don't use the same people. We have separate people, separate equipment, and we trade as the same business. Actually,
Yeah.
I've got two companies. So I've got Landform Consultants Limited that does all the design, it does the construction, and then I've got Landform Maintenance Limited, and Landform Maintenance buys all the capital equipment. It buys all my trucks, all my vans, it buys all my diggers and all my kit. It
Yeah.
buys, and then we release it back to consultants. Why? Is because the construction company will always be risky. It'll always
Yeah.
have an element of risk, and you
So
know
it's a
you can
because
get
of
well.
ongoing.
You know, when my previous company Landmark, when that went, I had a separate company. I had Landmark Gardens, and when I got myself into a pickle, and believe me, I've been in pickles lots and lots of times, but that was a serious pickle, of course. But obviously, all my capital equipment was already purchased by a separate company, so it was kind of ring fenced, and that's not kind of dodgy dealing. That's good business sense, putting
Yeah.
all your eggs in one basket, you know. So I've learned an awful lot, you know, and as I said, that's, you know, you'll never ever hear me. I'm bored. How can you get bored in this industry? If you are bored, you ain't trying hard enough. Because I'm
Yeah.
never bored. I haven't got enough hours in a day. You know, my motto is work hard, play harder. So I
Yeah.
work really hard, and when I play, you know, and I pack as much in, and when I die, and you know it'll be soon. It's like that guy.
It
Yeah,
will
did
be
he
so.
try? Did he really? Did he really try? What did he do? I want to leave a line in the sand, and people say like, "Wow, you know that guy. He just kept lifting the bar up, and he would not. He wouldn't take kind of. You know, he wanted to you know to prove to himself mainly, but also people around him that do the job right,
Yeah.
get the job done right, you know. And that's you know that's it. But yeah, anyway, that's
No,
it.
no, no, I like that. And so you've just said putting the bar up and keep on putting that bar up.
Yeah,
And that's obviously going to bring, you know, maybe Chelsea to the table here now. So Chelsea, obviously, I can only assume a huge part of your life from
it's a
what.
massive part of my life. It's consuming my life. But you know, I did it. I first when I was at first at Wisley, when I was a student at 21, I was this kind of, you know, I was just like a sponge. I was so happy to be working for the RHS at Wisley. And then they used to bus the students up to Chelsea to do the RHS bits, and I went in there, and it's like, fucking hell, the hairs on my neck and the perfection and the attention to detail. And I thought, I want a piece of this. And little did I know, that was in '82. In '88, then I would be consumed. So this year was my 34th consecutive year. I've spent 3.5 years of my life on that site, and I built this year was 108 gardens, so it's 108. So I typically build anything from usually minimum of 2 to 5 gardens.
Yeah,
And you know, why do I do it? Well, I love adrenaline, so
yeah,
I love that fear of failure. I love the fact that it's instant gratification. I like the fact that I use it for retention, staff recruitment, trialing younger guys, problem solving, getting out of adversity. I use it for intel. Where else, as a landscape, I'm usually behind electric gates, behind big walls, can't see what's going on. There,
no,
everything's exposed.
yeah,
I can see what vans they have, what kit they're using, how they communicate, what uniforms they are, what the process, who's doing what, who's a sub is, what everything. And intel, I get so much intel.
Yeah.
And that genuinely, I love this thing of get it right first time. Got 17 days to do something world
Amazing.
class. You know, and
Yeah.
you know, as I said, you know, it's not for everybody. It really isn't. I've seen people destroyed and crushed by the whole experience
Yeah.
because sometimes it can be really shit.
Yeah.
But this last year, where you know we did the two gardens, we did the Samaritan garden, which was an exemplar of a show garden,
Yeah.
incredible garden, built by Darren Hawkes, built with a lot of love by a landscaper. Darren Hawkes is a landscaper turned designer. Oh my goodness me, superb! The best set of drawings I've ever seen for any Chelsea ever. Guy was on it, and that was a really fantastic. And then I did the Savills garden. I did it old school. I did it really flat packed it. But then
I love that.
well, because I'm an ambassador for the RHS for landscaping, and I thought, well, you know, I don't want to be the old guy. So, well, you know, Mark Gregory's all right, but he's a bit out of date. It's all a bit kind of old school. I just didn't want to be that. And then I thought, well, okay, well, we'll do a bit of sem-free. We'll do a bit of sem-free. And then actually, genuinely, so nobody said to me, Mark, you've really got to make this sustainable. And I thought, actually, once I started on this journey and I surrounded myself with some really clever people who helped me, then it became enlightening. And
Yeah.
I did things that I couldn't believe were possible. You know, I've been on a sustainability message, a course today, and I've been talking about it, and we heard, and to build things sustainable takes a lot longer. You've got to research. So I had conversations here about concrete, rather than
Yeah.
just pick up the phone and say, right, I need 8 cubic meters of C20 concrete, bang, done. I
Yeah.
had conversations about this concrete with no cement in it. Tell me how it works. What keeps it working right? Will it go off?
Yeah.
How does it work? So the amount of research that we had to do to deliver that garden was off the scale. And we had
Yeah.
like 30 guys literally all on steroids building that garden. And that was the most complicated thing that I've ever built at Chelsea. That was the most scary thing I've ever built. But the exciting thing about it was to get engineers to sign off. I had 4-meter walls built out of mud and straw,
Yeah.
stuck together with clay mud. And it's like, why the fuck am I doing this? The risk,
Yeah.
the risk of a reputational failure was off the scale. It really was. You know, why did I do that to myself? Why did I literally lift the bar? Because it was for me to do that. I'm right in the sweet spot of I still got the energy, I've got the knowledge, I've got the confidence. I don't lose sleep about this stuff, I went for it. But when I say I went for it, we were so rehearsed. We were
Yeah.
rehearsed. We were rehearsed. We were planned, and honestly, I was so the medal wasn't even in question for me. It was just one of the best things I've ever done,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And you
I
know,
mean, what I saw, I followed you on Instagram, and I kind of watched the full garden come to life. And as a Frenchman, seeing that garden, it just reminded me of home. It was the perfect combination. I know it's a show garden and you're packing a lot in, but for me that was my favorite garden you built, and I looked at a lot of the gardens you've done over the years. It is just, you know, it was just a bit of me. I really enjoyed watching the full process, and the team you had there, and you were showcasing it really well on your social media.
yeah,
So yeah, well done on that garden.
we brought a collective of really cool people together, really
Yeah,
cool, and not all worked for Landform. There were people that had said, "Hey, Mark, you know, I'd love to be involved. You know, can I be involved?" And we pulled a big management team together. We brought some really cool people together to help us, and then shared that journey with them. But you know, it was the most coolest thing I've ever done.
yeah.
Honestly, I will never do a garden like that ever again, because Well, because it's ridiculous, really. I mean, everything was built. I mean, there was more bricks in that than a family home. There was more
Yeah.
bricks in that than a mid-terrace house. 11,500 bricks alone. But there was not a bag of cement in that. There was no
Yeah,
cement at all.
that's crazy.
And
It's
yeah, and it was like completely stepping out of my comfort zone. I was
yeah,
right out on a limb, but we had a giggle. We genuinely, I didn't lose the plot. I was, I wasn't stressed by it. I was exhausted by it, because it is a young man's game, and we're burning stupid hours,
yeah,
and it was coming at me so fast, like the decisions and things going on. The thing was on fire. It was bloody amazing, that garden for me.
yeah,
And the end. And do you know what? We finished to the hour. We finished on the hour we said we were going to finish.
yes.
And I look back now, and I genuinely, honestly, can't quite believe we actually pulled it all together. It was mad. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
Great
I
fun.
mean, no, it must have been. I had one experience of not even Chelsea. It was BBC Gardeners World Live in Birmingham,
Yeah,
and I helped a friend, landscaper. He's a landscaper, but he designed his garden, and we helped him
yeah,
build his garden for a few days. And that was just a little taster of what's, I it's a tiny taster, but I would love one day to get involved in Chelsea. It seems like I've had a lot of people on this podcast, and Chelsea seems to be this. Not for everyone, like you say,
not
not for everyone.
for
But I
everyone.
think for
Yeah,
someone that loves their craft, and it might be designing, it might be plants, it might be construction, it might be soft, it might be hard, but someone that loves their craft to be able to showcase it on such a scale must be
it,
so
it
rewarding.
what you talk about a glass half full. You talk about positivity. You walk down Main Avenue, and you're surrounded by people. All the
Yeah,
whole site has got this positivity and this strive for perfection, and
yeah,
it's really infectious. It gets into you, and then you go around a corner and see some craftsmen doing some mosaic work or whatever it may be, and it's absolutely inspiring. It's just
yeah,
really inspiring. It is for somebody who's genuinely interested, and I am, and so I'm like, but every single year, I'm usually the first guy in a van at that gate waiting to open. Always, I'm usually there at 6:30, and I'm usually sick on the way up. I'm always sick. I'm like a coiled spring, and every time I do it, I'm putting the company at jeopardy. If I fail there, I'm done. I'm commercially ruined. Forget the gold medals and who you were and what you do. You're only as good as your last job. If I mess up there, I'm done. So it kind of
yeah.
focuses everything.
You're putting
It focuses
a
me,
lot on the
focuses the
line.
team,
Yeah,
your preparation, your planning. I take a lot from what I learn at Chelsea and put into the day job, and how we talk, how we communicate, how we drive these projects uh, and what we learn from it. Again, I learn from other people. And equally, I'll walk along and see somebody about to make a big mistake, and I say, "Hey guys, sorry to be a pain in the ass, but can I say I think you're doing that all wrong?
yeah,
Let me help you. I've got all the kit, and I help, and that's part of what I do.
yeah,
And part of what I do is getting other landscapers involved and mentoring them and making sure that they deliver the quality. I've got a responsibility to the RHS to
yeah,
actually help people, achieve to get onto this thing. It's not about me. I do what I do, but I build 2 or 3 gardens. I can't build the whole show. And I want to be surrounded by people who are inspired like me, who
yes,
and feel that they've got something. Mark, can I ask you, is this a good idea? No, it ain't a good idea. If I was you, I would do this or this. That's what it's
yeah,
about. It's about helping each other. And the thing is with Chelsea, there's this. I can't describe it, but it's this whole feeling of this community that really is very supportive.
yeah,
It's incredibly supportive, You know, I mean, I've often thought if I'd have focused as much effort into running my business as opposed to, you know, Chelsea Flower Show, would I be in a different place? But Chelsea Flower Show has exposed me to any civilized society that has horticulture, from
Yeah,
America, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, China, you name it. I've had interface with
yeah,
it, and it's taken me all over. It's taken me all
yeah.
over the
Because
world too, and
you've done some projects all over the world, haven't you?
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, we've designed. I've done quite a bit of work in
Yeah,
China, and that excites me. I love to travel. So one of
yeah,
my kind of, if my wife flies, she flies for British Airways, so she likes to travel. I like to travel. So that's something we like to do. You know, and I like to see new things. So
yeah,
I'm torn because you know I'm 64 in a few weeks' time, and the bottom line is I've got my bucket list is huge. I've got a huge bucket list of things I want to do. Um, you know, but equally I don't want to retire and I can't take time out of the business. Maybe
no,
3 weeks at a time, but you know, but
no.
you know, as I said,
I think you need to stay in the business for as long as you can and give that flame to the next generation, Mark. You
well, you
just need
know,
to
as I said, it's leading by example, and I think what makes me relevant to a lot of landscapists is I trod a very simple path. I come
yeah,
from very humble beginnings. I've made mistakes. I've talked about it. I share stuff, and I'd like to think I'd be remembered as somebody who lifted the bar and set the bar and set the standard, you know, and helped
yeah,
other people achieve the standard. Um, and I do feel strong about that actually. I do feel that you know it's a tough business. It is a tough gig. Do I know what it's like to be a small landscaper struggling, cash flow, weather, money, you know, all that stuff? I've been there, and to some degree, I'm living it now too. Although I'm slightly removed from the coalface, I look at all the jobs. I analyse every single piece of work we do. Very seldom that we tender for any work unless I see it.
yeah,
Very seldom that. And for why is because I analyze risk to our business.
yeah,
I look at the risk of the business. You talk about risk assessments and health and safety. We do all that. I've got other people to do that. I risk assess the business. Can I build
yeah,
it? I can build absolutely anything. Anything that's drawn, I can build. That I know.
yeah,
Can I build it in your budget? Maybe not. Can I build it in the timescale? Definitely not. But can I build it? Yes, I can. Do I want to work for you? I'm not sure I do.
yeah,
Do I want to work in that area or on that thing, on that slope or on that clay? I look at building sites. I go on. I see process. I scope people out. I talk to scaffolders. I talk to other trades when I go there. I'm not this guy in this suit. I'm this guy with a hard hat and a pair of boots. And I
yeah,
go in and I say, "Oh, these guys are fucking arseholes here. These arseholes. Nothing's organised. Alarm bells are ringing." And I then go back and we price the risk.
yeah,
So for me, as I said, I haven't got many mistakes to make, and I refuse to make a mistake in the short time I've got left. So
yeah.
therefore, I analyze the risk to the business.
That's
Can I
smart.
make money? Can I make money from it? Can I dine out on it? Can I have fun?
Yeah. And those points, and then yes, no, and if those don't tick the box, they're just
Well,
not good enough.
you know, it's easy to say, "Oh, he's all right in saying that, but I need work. I've got these men to feed. I need to chase." And you can be busy fools. The job
Yes.
that you take where there's no money in it is that 2 days later you'll get the call and you're tired and you can't do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better to walk away and work on your
Yeah.
business. You know, so I would say my criticism of a lot of small guys, they're too on the coal face. They need
Yeah.
to time to step out of the coal face, work on the business, not in the business. Actually take some time out and
Yeah.
actually indulge themselves. If you can't make sufficient money to buy a nice car, to have a great holiday, to do some fun things, it ain't working. It's
No.
not working. You should not be working for, you know, literally as a self-employed person, you should not be working for subcontractor money. You shouldn't.
No.
You need to. It needs to stack up. Otherwise, you'll get crushed. Your wife won't support you. Everybody gets pissed off
Yeah.
because there's no money.
Yeah,
You
your
need
staff
to.
won't stay, retention will just drop. It will be just a
Yeah.
nightmare.
And
Yeah.
it's tough at
No.
the moment. I mean, this time. So I've gone through 3 quite bad recessions,
Yes.
and it's tough. And I've never worked as hard, even in our business, Landform. Never worked as hard at my desk, work, flat out to make sure we get tenders. And I think there's a few reasons. I believe because the weather's been crap since
Yeah.
October. These wet winters are literally turning off our sales. People look out; they don't even go in the garden; it's too wet.
No.
We'll do that in the spring. Put it off to the spring.
Yeah.
The cost of living crisis. The media keep talking about fucking crisis. I mean,
Yeah.
basically, we're talking ourselves into a situation. The guy who's paying like £10,000 for his electric bill on his big house and swimming pool is now paying £20,000 a month.
Yeah.
It's affecting everything. And I think generally the world events are having a trigger, a knock-on effect to confidence in the market. We're not in
Yeah.
recession. I believe when March comes, the bang, it'll go crazy.
Yeah.
I believe that. But we've had 6 months of, well, nearly 6 months of pretty tough trading.
Yeah.
And,
No,
and
it's been up and down, hasn't it?
it's tough. And I think, you're either flat out busy or you've got no work at all.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about garden designers too. So some of the smaller garden designers. And I can tell by, things like skip deliveries, you were waiting. Now you get skip within an hour. You get same day delivery on builders
Yeah.
merchants.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
a barometer.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
barometer.
I
It's
had
not
a
only
phone
for
call.
landscaping, it's for roofers, it's for builders, it's for DIY. The whole thing is
Yeah.
flat.
Yeah.
It's not recessed. It's flat. It's flat. And
Yeah.
I think so. I understand it's tough. Yeah, it's tough trading. It's a tough business, landscaping. It's not easy money.
No.
I think it possibly used to be easy money, but I think it's certainly not easy money now.
Yeah.
But there's a
When
good
I talk, go on.
living to be had. There's a good living to be had.
Yeah, I do agree. But when I talk with landscapers, it's often what I get back is the work itself is the easy part. The making money, running the business, that's where people really, really struggle because on our scale, where we're running, maybe 2 to 3 teams, we are still so involved on the tools and we still got, I mean, I talk for myself and for other people that I've had on the podcast, but we're still so in love with the manual work that we don't detach ourselves from that. So we don't allow the business to grow in some ways. So, I've seen it and I've done 10 years of giving all the paperwork to my wife who works with me and hoping she does a really good job at it. And I've been focusing on the craft, but now I'm doing more office time.
Yeah.
My jobs are getting priced up quicker. The customers are having conversation with me quicker, and it just helps. And I'm winning more jobs now by just taking a day away from the tools.
I think that's what you got to do. You got to work on your business, not in your
No,
business. And I think actually, it's not everybody wants to have a big business. There's nothing wrong with having a small, well-run, well-priced operation.
yeah,
So I'm not judgmental about those people. If that's what you want, that's what you want. The reason that we're at the size we are is because I want those nuggets of jobs. I
yeah,
want those nuggets that a 3, 4, 5-man company will never ever get. That's what I want.
yeah, yeah,
So I've got that's what I've worked really hard to get into a position that I can tender for anything that comes in this door and have a good chance of getting that job. I've
yeah,
all my pre-qualifications. For me, where we are now, it's about accreditation. I have to be
yeah,
members of all these things. I've ISO, investors in people, environmental standards, all these things that we need to get to get accredited. And that's where we are now. So I guess, we can't compete. In our office, in our operation, there's 18 people.
wow,
18. Now, when you look at that overhead, you know, it's no way I can compete with you. No way I can compete with a lot of the people on this. It doesn't mean to say I'm any better than them, but I just can't compete. All I can compete is in my peer circle. That's all I can
Yeah,
do. So therefore, so really the jobs of say 100,000 upwards, you know, I mean, we get regular jobs, £500,000, £1 million, billion plus. I mean, the Tower of London as a job was a massive step up for me. That
yeah,
was £3.5 million of turnover in 30 weeks. That was a huge step up for us. Now, there's a lot of people who were looking above me saying, oh, I'm sure they were saying, Landform didn't think they were going to get this, and I don't think they can deliver that. And I like that. I like that. So for us, that was the growth step to get to that next level. And
yeah,
sometimes to get to the next level is painful.
yeah,
It's painful. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I love that. And to finish up, you know, I got this one question. I think, you know, with growth and with, you know, goals and being the new year as well, people in business, yourself, myself, everyone, big, small, medium, have goals and want to achieve more. And what would you say to those people trying to grow their business, trying to be successful? What would be the advice that you would give those people?
I think certainly to make your goals realistic. So have a goal that you can actually achieve for
Yeah,
one thing. Maybe pick two or three people that maybe are the next level up for you and see what they're doing and how they're doing it on their social media now, because social media has opened up this barrier, this privacy barrier, and everything's pretty transparent. So I
yeah,
think you can learn from your peers, but possibly learn from outside the industry. So
yeah,
it's almost like the blind leading the blind. So one of my inspirations when I was growing my business was Pimlico plumbers.
yeah,
Pimlico plumbers repair toilets.
yeah,
That's what they do. It ain't a glamorous thing, but you look at what their image, you look at their branding, you look at their service levels, you look. So what I'm saying is sometimes have inspiration within the industry, but have some other people in service-driven industries that you can look up to
yeah,
and take from. So rather than follow like the blind leading the blind, get inspiration from the industry, but also from other things maybe local to you,
yeah,
and learn to fall in love with your
yeah,
business. Learn
yeah,
to love the art of doing business. It's an art. It's an art form. To learn how to cut deals, how to close sales, how to make money, how to talk about money, confidently talk about money. And some people find it really uncomfortable to talk about money to
yeah,
clients. I love it now. Actually, genuinely, I really like somebody who's earning 2 or 3 million pounds a year, and he has his, you know, he drives in all his cars, big house. To have a conversation about money and value for money. What is value for money? And literally, but to have that confidence to explain and talk that through is great. And
yeah,
I think, you know, and for a landscaper, try to have the overview of not just being a hard landscaper, a paver, or look at the bigger picture. You know, look at the bigger picture. Yeah, as I said, I wear lots of hats in the industry,
yeah,
and people kind of can't quite sometimes work out what I am, and I like that. I mean, I'm a Chelsea designer. I've got 6 gold medals as a designer, but I can jump on a machine. I can unload a lorry. I
yeah,
can drive a high-end truck. I can drive it. I've got a HGV license.
yeah,
I've got a pilot's license. But I think it's not being pigeonholed, and I guess that's why I love it, because I never get to the end of what I'm. As I said, you'll never hear I'm bored. I'm bored of this industry. I'm bored.
no. I don't think we'll hear that from you, that's for sure.
No, it's just as I said, I think you lead, you have bad days, but I think surround yourself by good people, get a
Yeah,
team around you, and inspire those people, inspire those team. Like the Chelsea Flower Show, my last note, the Chelsea Flower Show. The reason people, because I inspired them, I enthused them. They went on the journey because I was confident and I was excited and I shared it with them and I brought them in, so they were excited as me.
yeah,
My bricklayer was so pumped up. I couldn't have pumped up anymore. He was like this kind of, and he was buzzing just out of the trap, because I'd wound him right up about it. And if you can do that, to a team, you can achieve anything.
yeah, 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 yeah. And but what what are your goals for this year, if I may ask? Have you got some goals?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have got some goals. So, I mean, obviously, we're well to get some more accreditations, but I'm opening a new venture here at Chobham,
Yeah,
which we open in July, and it's going to be hopefully a really cool thing. I've got a big part of my yard that I was filling up with landscaper crap or landscaper expensive stuff, but it was taking up a lot of real estate,
yeah.
and we were underutilizing it. So I'm going to create this kind of designer center. It's almost
Oh,
like a designer excellence. So there'll be pots, there'll be sculpture, there'll be buildings,
yeah.
there'll be display. There's a huge greenhouse, 100 foot, it's a 30 meter by 15 meter greenhouse.
Wow.
There's training, event space, product launch space, and it'll be by invitation only, so people
Yeah,
can come, bring clients, see some really cool stuff. And yeah, we launch in July, and that is about, for one thing, for me, is that we've got some amazing clients, and I don't want to drop those clients. So what do I
no,
do? So from April through to October, we'll have almost like a garden club,
yeah.
like a really exclusive garden club where you get a glass of wine, some products, an
So
inspirational
that's
speaker.
a good idea. So I used to work for this winemaker because I studied winemaking in France, and he was called, I don't know if you're into your
I
wine,
am.
but he was called Marcel Lapierre.
Okay.
Marcel Lapierre, he's from the Beaujolais, so we made Morgon, Fleury, Giraud, red
Yeah.
wines, quite light. He was a bit of a pioneer. I'll make a little story. So he kind of started natural wines with onologue called Jules Chauvet. He was very smart. He was super smart, and I did my apprenticeship with him. And instead, when we released the new wine, instead of going to Paris and going to all those restaurants and wine merchant and traveling to showcase this new product, he would do an event at his winery only on invitation as well, and he would get all his customer base there. All of his customers that ever bought wine, good customers, would get an invitation. So, and that worked so well for him as a marketing point of view, and as well as like you're trying to do, bring people like interested in the industry or in what you do in one place.
No, it'll be a cooler, but I also want to, invite a lot of the cluster groups, Bali, APL, SGD to come and use the space. So it'll
Yeah,
be a very much giving back as well into the industry. But I'm hoping to do a really good job of that. And again, this year will be the year that we do. We're actually laying it out right now, and parts of it are done. But I've got kind of 4 or 5 months of hard graft, and I've got a busy Chelsea to boot, but we will deliver it. And as I said, we launch in July, so that's it.
yeah.
That's my goal.
Oh, well, that's amazing. No,
Yeah,
but hopefully you reach your goals, and I want to thank you for coming on this evening.
I'm
I
sorry,
really, really
really,
no, no,
sorry. I was
no,
pressing all these
yeah.
buttons and nothing was happening.
No,
Anyway,
no, it works out in the end. So, thank you for everyone watching as well. This live, it goes recorded and then it goes on my YouTube channel as well. So, I'll put a post tomorrow about that.
okay.
And yeah, Thank you again for coming on. And if you need
Well,
any extra hands this year at Chelsea, um, you know, don't hesitate to hit me up. I would love to come help you guys.
well, that's very kind of you. But anyway, I hope it's been interesting to people. And as I said, I can't answer every email, but I'm genuinely, if somebody needs to know something and I can help somebody, then I will. It's in my DNA. It's how I was brought up, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to give a little bit back. You know, I
Well,
get a lot of kick out of giving
no,
back. So, anyway.
well, thank you. We've had lots of comments coming up saying people are getting, you know, fired up, excited. So obviously your passion is very much translated through tonight.
Yeah, I do believe, I really, really do. It's the life I live, and I think if I can be an ambassador for this industry, it's been a fantastic industry to me. I've loved it. I love the people in it. I love the ambition. I love the challenge. I love what it gets back, and you can make a good living if you do it right
Yes.
and understand the numbers and do that. So yeah. So anyway. I'm glad you found it interesting.
Thank you
So
very
nice talking to
much.
you.
Thank you, Mark. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll
Okay.
see you soon.
Okay, mate.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.